Digital transformation key in ensuring Malaysia emerging as a successful nation. New road tax structure for EVs to be announced next month. Good evening. Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos and you're watching Malaysia Tonight. Well, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim at the launch of the Malaysia Digital Expo or MDX 2023 grand finale today reiterated that digital transformation is the key strategy to ensure Malaysia emerges as a successful nation. Commenting further on the matter, Datuk Seri Anwar, who is also the Finance Minister, said digital economy stands as one of Malaysia's key economic pillars, currently contributing a substantial 23.2% to the country's gross domestic product or GDP.
The Premier noted that the government projects that the GDP figure will soar to 25.5% by 2025.
In the third quarter of 2022 alone, the digital economy garnered $15.7 billion in investments. And this is one of the fastest growing sectors. Now, the Malaysia Digital National Strategic Initiative on the pivotal sectors of trade, agriculture, services, smart cities, healthcare, finance, content, tourism, and the Islamic digital economy.
The Premier added that in the third quarter of 2022 alone, the digital economy garnered $15.7 billion in investments, solidifying its status as one of the fastest growing sectors.
Well, the Cabinet will discuss and decide this month on the targeted subsidies mechanism expected to be implemented after March next year. Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli said that currently 3 implementation methods are being evaluated, with qualification being based on net disposable income.
Pemberian subsidi secara bersasar mengikut kelayakan pendapatan boleh belanja bersih secara individu melalui pendekatan perlindungan sosial ataupun social protection. Kedua, sama ada yang pertama itu ataupun yang kedua, pemberian subsidi secara bersasar mengikut kelayakan pendapatan boleh belanja bersih secara isi rumah. Yang pertama tadi mengikut individu, yang kedua secara isi rumah, dan melalui pendekatan hybrid. Pertimbangan ketiga ialah pemberian subsidi secara bersasar mengikut kelayakan pendapatan boleh belanja bersih secara isi rumah dan juga individu gabungan, tetapi dilaksanakan menggunakan kaedah kad subsidi.
Rafizi said the targeted subsidies would only be implemented after the government's central database system, PADU, is open to the public and data on whether households qualify for the subsidies can be reviewed and verified. PADU will only be open in January next year, and the public will have 3 months to update their data in the system. He said the current plan is to ensure the overall results, system and process are organised before the Cabinet finalises the implementation date. He emphasised that the target subsidy rate will consider various factors, including current economic projections, among others.
The Ministry of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, KPDN, announced 8 items to be placed under the festive season's Maximum Price Control Scheme, or SHMMP, for this year's Deepavali. Acting Minister Dato' Armizan Muhammad Ali said the Maximum Price Scheme will be enforced for 7 days, starting 9th to the 15th of November.
8 item tersebut, bawang merah besar import, bawang merah kecil India, tak termasuk ros, cili merah, daging kambing biri-biri bertulang import, kacang dal Australia, kelapa biji yang akan kita kawal harga maksimum dia di peringkat borong, kelapa parut yang harga maksimum ditetapkan di peringkat runcit dan juga tomato.
He added the scheme will be enforced for 3 days before the festival, during the festival, and 3 days after under the Price Control and Anti-Profiteering Act 2011. He said this at a press conference to announce the 2023 Deepavali SHMMP today. Dato' Armizan said the public can check the prices for the items on KPDN's website. Deepavali, or the Festival of Lights, will be celebrated by Hindus nationwide on Sunday, 12th November this year.
Early preparations are in place to face the northeast monsoon, which has been forecast for this month. Women, Family and Community Development, or KPWKM Minister Dato' Sri Nancy Shukri said her ministry will work with the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA, and the Education Ministry to organize assistance during the floods.
Dato' Sri Nancy said at the moment basic aid such as temporary relief centres, food and other items are all ready.
Always prepared. Kalau ada lah, mungkin kalau ada macam something that is out of what we would expect, maybe itulah yang menjadi kekangan. I mean, that's something that may not be, we are not prepared of. But the normal things we are already prepared of. So that's why bila the school dia jadi pusat PPS tu, they are happy because everything is already ready. Food is ready. The procedure SOPs are all there.
Met Malaysia in its weather outlook for September 2023 to March 2024 has forecast that the northeast monsoon will start in November 2023 with 4 to 6 episodes of monsoon surges of continuous rain with potential flooding. On another note, Dato' Sri Nancy said 96 million ringgit has been channeled to 2,672 NGOs so far since the Treasury Special Assistance, BKP, was introduced in 2001. She said 6,697 women, family and community development programs with nearly 1 million participants have been implemented nationwide during that time.
Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Abdullah Ri'ayatuddin Al-Mustafa Bilal Shah today decreed that all programs introduced to safeguard the environment and protect wildlife must be closely monitored by both the federal and state governments. The King said the monitoring at both the federal and state levels will ensure the success of the respective programs in the long run.
Usaha-usaha memelihara atau memulihkan ekosistem alam semula jaya ini dan juga usaha-usaha kita memelihara habitat khususnya haiwan-haiwan kita di dalam hutan perlu diberi satu pengiktirafan, galakan, dorongan oleh pihak kerajaan dan pihak swasta.
He said this in his speech when launching the Eco Schools Malaysia and Greening Education Partnership GEP Roadmap 2030, themed a United Nations Greening Education Partnership initiative at Sekolah Berasrama Penuh Integrasi Temerloh today. Meanwhile, on the program, Sultan Abdullah described it as an important program in the country's education ecosystem, which involved efforts to create awareness among youths, especially students. Also present was Pahang Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Wan Rosdi Wan Ismail and Deputy Education Minister Lim Hui Ying.
Coming up in our business segment, 500 locations nationwide to be equipped with digital agriculture technology. Well, Well, the government will announce a new tax, or rather new road tax or motor vehicle license or LKM structure for electric vehicles or EVs next month in an effort to encourage more people to use the vehicles. While speaking at a press conference after officiating the International Rail Symposium today, Transport Minister Anthony Loke said, however, that the more competitive road tax structure will only take effect after 2025, after the end of the road tax exemption period for EVs, as announced by the government last year.
Lok said the government was aware of the EV vehicle owners' concerns about having to pay high road tax after the exemption period ended. He added the Transport Ministry had also presented the National EV Task Force to ensure that the new structure is more competitive.
Kita telah bentangkan kepada EV Task Force untuk pastikan supaya struktur cukai jalan untuk EV ini lebih kompetitif dan dia tidak membebankan, supaya menggalakkan penerimaan orang ramai terhadap pembelian kereta-kereta EV ini. Jadi setakat ini saya rasa adalah dalam kita menggalakkan.
On 15th February 2022, the Transport Ministry, through the Road Transport Department, introduced the road tax exemption for EVs, which applied to battery and fuel cell, hydrogen, EVs but not hybrid vehicles, and would be valid from 1st January 2022 to 31st December 2025. Earlier, in his speech at the event, Lok said the government envisioned the local rail industry players actively participating in the maintenance, repair and overhaul (MRO) program, enabling the extension of the operational lifespan of rail assets from 10 to 20 years currently to 30 to 40 years.
Well, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said Malaysia will decide within the next 2 days on its participation in the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC Economic Leaders Week 2023.
No, I'm coordinating with all the countries. So far, most attending.
Established in 1989 to leverage the growing interdependence of the Asia-Pacific. This year's APEC Economic Leaders Week, AELW, will convene in San Francisco, California from 11 to 17 November. The 21 APEC members' economies account for nearly 40% of the global population, nearly 50% of global trade, and more than 60% of US goods exports. APEC's 21 member economies are Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, China, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Peru, the Philippines, Russia, Singapore, Taipei, Thailand, the United States, and Vietnam.
Well, a total of 500 locations nationwide will be equipped with the digital agriculture technology, also known as Digital AgTech system, estimated costs 20,000 ringgit. Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadil said the Digital AgTech is one of the programs under the Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, or MDEC, to increase the use of digital technologies in agriculture.
He said Digital AgTech is equipped not only with the use of the Internet of Things, IoT, to ensure farmers use digital technology. There will also be 500 locations across the country that will be provided with off-the-shelf equipment system they can use.
Perdana Menteri telah menaruh harapan yang tinggi kepada pasukan AgTech dalam dua pusingan musim ni perlu menunjukkan peningkatan bukan hanya dari segi hasil keluaran ataupun yield, tapi juga pendapatan bagi para petani yang turut terlibat.
He said this at a press conference at the Malaysia Digital Expo MDX 2023 Grand Finale today. He said Digital AgTech is one of the efforts by MDEC and the ministry to help towards the food security in the country, besides increasing the farmers' income. Under the 12th Malaysia Plan midterm review, the government aims to enhance industries with high growth, high value, covering 5 sectors, namely renewable energy, technology and digital, electrical and electronics, agriculture and agro-based, and rare earth.
Well, the Agriculture and Food Security Ministry will continue to monitor and focus on the supply status of 8 main food commodities in the country. Now, they include rice, vegetables, fruits, chicken or duck meat, chicken or duck eggs, beef, fresh milk, as well as fish.
Deputy Minister Chan Fong Hin said the self-sufficiency rate, SSR, recorded for the country's main commodities last year, such as for rice, stood at 62.6%, vegetables 44.7%, fruits 78.1%, beef 14.7%, chicken or duck meat 94.4%, chicken or duck eggs 108.9%, fresh milk 57.3%, and fish 90.2%. He further noted that through the National Agro-Food Policy 2.0, the ministry is targeting the SSR for fruits and vegetables to reach 83% and 79% respectively by 2030. The government also plans to increase rice production to 75% self-sufficiency level by 2025 through the Smart Large-Scale Paddy Fields initiative to ensure the country's SSR can meet domestic demand through local production.
Untuk menjawab sama ada matlamat itu realistik atau tidak, kalau kita lihat daripada 8 ini bahan makanan utama yang tadi saya sebutkan yang tadi itu, ada yang kalau lihat jurang daripada sasaran sekarang berbanding dengan target adalah dekat. Seperti contoh buah-buahan 78,1% berbanding dengan sasaran kita nak mencapai 83%. So itu sesuatu yang kita boleh mencapai dan ada juga yang jauh lagi sedikit seperti beras 62,6% berbanding dengan 75%. So ini pun agak realistik dan juga ada berbagai apa nama ni yang dari segi SSR ni kita kena review balik kerana target SSR ni kita akan letak setiap 5 tahun.
Masih belum mengenal.
Well, Malaysia's Services Producer Price Index, or SPPI, rose by 1.4% to 115.4 points in the third quarter this year, or 3Q 2023 from 113.8 points in the same quarter of the preceding year. Now, the Department of Statistics Malaysia, or DOSM, said the SPPI is designed to measure the average changes in the prices of services charged by the local services industry in Malaysia. Now, Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Mahidin said all subsectors recorded an increase in this quarter, except for the index of information and communication, which remain unchanged. He said the accommodation and food and beverage service activities rose by 4.6%, attributed to the increase in restaurants and mobile food service activities, that's 5.2%, and transportation recorded a marginal increase of 0.7% due to the air transport, which is 1.5%. In the meantime, the other subsectors that recorded an increase were education, 1%, arts, entertainment and recreation, 0.8%, and professionals at 0.4%. Meanwhile, the index or real estate activities and health both increased by 0.2% respectively. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, the SPPI increased by 0.4% as compared to 0.2% recorded in the previous quarter. Meanwhile, the index of transportation, professional health and information and communication remain unchanged. Well, the ringgit is expected to appreciate to 4 ringgit and 30 cents against the US dollar by year-end, as the Federal Reserve, or Fed, is deemed to have ended its tightening cycle for the year. MIDF research said it expected emerging market currencies would strengthen as the US interest rates were near the cycle peak, which would lead to the return of fund flow into riskier markets. Well, in a note, the research firm said with the overnight policy rate expected to be maintained at 3% going into 2024, it expects the ringgit ringgit will benefit from no further widening of the Fed funds rate overnight policy rate differential. Now, it added economic fundamentals generally remain supportive of the ringgit, with the domestic economy displaying resilience with inflation under control. MIDF research also said the recent signs of continued recovery in China and increased electrical and electronics exports would indicate better external trade performance in the coming months. The elevated global commodity prices will benefit the ringgit, as Malaysia is a net commodity exporter. Now, while the research house is optimistic, the ringgit will appreciate towards year-end, and there is downside bias which will limit the ringgit from strengthening further. For example, it said the absence of a definitive pause by the Fed, another rise in U.S. Treasury yields, and escalating geopolitical crisis in West Asia could lead to renewed support for the U.S. dollar. Coming up in the foreign segment, UN bodies make united call for humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. Well, Prime Minister Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the cordial relations between Malaysia and Egypt enabled the country's humanitarian aid to be sent to the people of Palestine. Well, he said the matter was proven when Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi facilitated the dispatching of humanitarian aid from Malaysia.
Dalam pertemuan itu saya terkesan dengan pertemuan itu dan sentimennya sangat baik. Dan saya minta supaya diberikan keutamaan kalau ada bantuan kemanusiaan dari Malaysia. Dan alhamdulillah dia pegang berjanjinya. Malaysia dan pesawat kita yang sampai itu di antara yang paling cepat diberi layanan dan dapat menyeberang sempadan. Sebab itu saya katakan hubungan dua hal itu perlu ditingkatkan.
The Premier said this at a gathering with staff of the Prime Minister's Department, JPM, in Putrajaya today. Last Saturday, the 9M WCA cargo plane carrying the first shipment of Malaysian humanitarian aid for Palestine through Ops Ihsan landed safely at El Arish Military Airport in Egypt. 20 tons of assistance in the form of medical items, baby products, and food were handed over to representatives of the Egyptian Red Crescent Society to be brought into Gaza through the Rafah border crossing. Datuk Seri Anwar said the issue in Palestine is seen as getting more worrying, with no signs that Israel will stop its attacks in the country. In this regard, he said discussions with the leaders of the Arab world should be held immediately to enable the fate of the Palestinian people to be defended.
Well, the heads of all major United Nations agencies issued a rare joint statement expressing outrage at the civilian death toll in Gaza and calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas. Now, the UN chief said for almost a month, the world has been watching the unfolding situation in Israel and Gaza in shock and horror at the spiraling numbers of lives lost and torn apart. The heads of 18 organizations, including UNICEF, the World Food Programme and the World Health Organization, described the horrific toll on both sides since 7 October. The UN statement said the situation in Gaza is unacceptable, where an entire population is besieged and under attack, denied access to the essentials for survival, bombed in their homes, shelters, hospitals, and places of worship. It urged both sides to respect their obligations under international law as the war rages on. The UN leaders said more food, water, medicine, and fuel must be allowed into Gaza to help its besieged population as Israel attacks with the stated goal of destroying Hamas. But at least 5 people, including 2 children, were killed and several injured at a popular tourist town in rural Australia after a car crashed into a crowd of patrons on the front lawn of a pub. Now, Victoria State Police said 4 people died at the scene of the accident in Delisford, about 110 kilometres northwest of Melbourne. A girl who was airlifted to a hospital died there later. Now, Police Chief Commissioner Shane Patton said the US mounted, or SUV mounted, a curb and then drove across a grass area outside the Royal Dallasford Hotel. Now, police did not specify if the victims were related and whether speed was a factor, but said those killed were not local residents. They also said the exact circumstances of the accident were yet to be determined. The driver, a 66-year-old man, was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The driver was breath tested and there was no alcohol in his system. Coming up in sports, JDT plot for Ulsan downfall to steal show in Asian Champions League. In a showdown of football giants, Johor Darul Takzim of JDT, the Super League champions, will host newly crowned K-League 1 winners Ulsan Hyundai in a highly anticipated Asian Champions League or ACL blockbuster clash at Sultan Ibrahim Stadium tomorrow. Well, Ulsan were crowned K-League 1 champions by defeating Daegu 2-0 on 29th October, while JDT regained their Super League title for the 10th consecutive time in September.
JDT coach Esteban Solari holds high hopes of orchestrating an upset against Ulsan and has advised his players to adhere to their tactical plan without showing too much respect to their Korean opponents.
But for us, is what we are looking for. We are looking for to compete with these kind of teams. Hopefully we can do it more often because it's what makes us better. We are very happy with our performance, as I said before, because even when we play at home or abroad, our philosophy is always there. We are a team that have an identity, but still we have to improve because this competition has shown us that when you make small mistakes, they make you pay.
Solari added that it's not a do-or-die mission, highlighting that consistency in football is essential and maintaining a high-intensity playing style is key to success. He also urged his players not to allow Hong Myun Bo's team to dominate the game. Ulsan Hyundai, meanwhile, will adopt a cautious approach against JDT tomorrow. 54-year-old Hong Myun Bo also said that he is confident that Ulsan will not be affected by the home fans and will focus on winning the game. He also dismissed the notion that different weather conditions in Malaysia compared to Korea should be an excuse for a lack of confidence.
예, 상대가 당연히 이 홈 경기고 시작부터 굉장히 강력해 나올 거라고 생각을 하고 있습니다만 분명히 우리가 경기를 운영하는 데 있어서도 어려운 시간대가 올 거라고 생각을 하지만 우리는 선수들은 아주 슬기롭게 그 시간을 잘 넘긴다고 하면은 우리가 승리할 수 있을 거라고 생각하고 있습니다.
Captain Jun Seong-hyun, Darijan Bojanic and Gustav Ludwigsen are expected to play tomorrow after they were rested during their 2-0 win over Daegu in a K-League 1 match. Ulsan are second in the standings with 6 points, and a win will strengthen their chances of advancing to the next stage. In the first round on 24th October, Ulsan defeated JDT, who are third with 3 points, 3-1 at home.
Well, that concludes this edition of Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, digital transformation, key in ensuring Malaysia emerging as a successful nation. Till then, I'm Mohammed Amin Carlos, and from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching.